I tried mind mapping for years, and honestly, it felt useless. Everyone said it was powerful, a better way to think and learn. For me, it was just messy circles and wasted time. Nothing clicked. That was frustrating because it felt like I was missing something obvious. It wasn't until I realized one key shift that everything changed. I wasn't using the wrong tool. I was using the wrong type of thinking. Here's the problem. When most people try mind mapping, they approach it exactly the same way they approach note taking. Line by line, step by step, A to B to C. They're not actually mind mapping, they're outlining with bubbles. That's linear thinking, and linear thinking boxes you in. Real thinking doesn't move in a straight line. It loops, it jumps, it doubles back. How does point D change how you understand A? What if C actually belongs with something you studied days ago? When you force your thinking to move in one direction, you get one-dimensional understanding, and that's a trap. Mind mapping isn't about organizing information. It's about exploring it. Instead of what comes next, you're asking what connects. That mental shift changes the way you approach mind mapping. It gives you space to test connections, see patterns, and explore an idea from multiple angles in a way a paragraph or outline never could. Here's how I think about it. Linear thinking builds a foundation. Mind mapping builds understanding. You need both, but they're for different stages of learning. Let me give you this science quickly, because this part matters. Your brain doesn't store information as isolated bullet points. It stores relationships, networks of connected ideas. When you arrange concepts in a visual, spatial, and verbal way, you're externalizing the way your brain actually organizes knowledge. And that's when synthesis becomes possible. Synthesis is two things: distilling complex material into clear core ideas and connecting those ideas into a structure that creates new understanding. This is also where chunking happens. Chunking is grouping individual pieces of information into meaningful units, which dramatically reduces cognitive load. There's also something called dual encoding. The idea that you comprehend more deeply when information is organized in a visual, verbal, and spatial way simultaneously. Can you see it? Can you explain it in words? And can you show the relationships between the ideas? That's deep understanding. We're talking about mind mapping as a way to organize thinking and see relationships. But one issue is that many students feel overwhelmed and don't know where to start. One feature inside UPDF, an AI-integrated all-in-one PDF editor, and sponsor of today's video, is that it can help generate mind maps directly from your documents. So imagine you open a dense chapter, research article, or long PDF handout. And instead of staring at page after page, trying to mentally organize everything, you can use the AI tools to summarize the material and turn the key ideas into a visual mind map. That gives you a starting structure you can build from. UPDF helps you get the first draft of the map on screen so you can spend your energy refining ideas, making connections, and actually thinking. What makes UPDF different from other editors is how interactive it is. You can highlight, edit text, reorganize pages, convert files into Word or PowerPoint, but the real shift is the AI. With the built-in AI assistant, you can literally chat with your PDF. You can ask it to summarize a chapter or to explain a concept. So instead of passively reading, you're actively processing the material. One feature I've been testing is the AI bookmark tool. It allows you to build a clean outline as you read. So instead of feeling lost in a 20-page reading, you can start to build the structure that you can later integrate into your notes or mind maps. And if you're working with scanned documents, the OCR tool converts everything into editable text with one click. If you want to try it, there's a link in the description where you can get $10 discount during the current 2.5 launch period. One account can support up to 4 devices, and the paid version costs about 1/5 of Adobe. There are enterprise and educator versions available. It's risk-free with a 30-day money-back guarantee. In this video, I am doing traditional mind maps, but your mind mapping could be drawings that help you remember abstract concepts, timelines, diagrams, anything that helps you visualize what you are learning. One important caveat: mind mapping isn't magic. If you barely understand the material, your first mind map will be shallow. The better you know the material, the easier it will be to mind map. Now, let me walk you through the exact progression I use. There are 5 stages, and each one deepens your thinking. The first stage is capture. Let's start with a dense academic paragraph, something like this. Long-term memory forms when information is processed meaningfully, not just passively reviewed. Retrieving information, connecting it to prior knowledge, and applying it in varied contexts strengthens neural pathways. Passive repetition increases familiarity, but doesn't reliably support long-term recall. Your first step is basic notes. Main ideas in your own words, in bullet form. The goal is just to capture the information accurately. This is still surface level processing, but it is the necessary foundation. The second stage is organization. Now, reorganize those notes into a simple outline. You're not adding new information, you're organizing meaning. Memory encoding becomes your main category. Underneath it, active processing and passive processing. Under active, retrieve, connect, apply. Under passive, repetition without engagement. Notice what changed. The amount of information stayed the same, but now instead of memorizing long sentences, you're remembering one main category, two subcategories, and three behaviors. Multiple ideas now function as a single chunk. Working memory can only hold about 4 to 5 chunks at once, but structuring information this way allows you to create bigger chunks and reduce cognitive load. The third stage is structure. Take that outline and build a simple hub and spoke mind map. Memory encoding is at the center. Active and passive processing as two branches. There are subpoints branching outward. Now the hierarchy is visible at a glance. The structure is no longer hidden inside indentation. It's spatial. You can see it. But here's the thing, we're still just thinking linearly, just with bubbles. The fourth stage is where it gets interesting, relational mapping. Now start asking questions that go beyond the original material. Why does retrieval strengthen neural pathways? How does connecting to prior knowledge relate to schema theory? Is passive repetition related to what researchers call fluency illusion? Start drawing crosslinks. Retrieval connects to testing effect. Prior knowledge connects to schema activation. Application connects to transfer learning. Passive repetition connects to the familiarity illusion. You're no longer organizing what the paragraph said, you're integrating it into what you already know. Hierarchical chunking builds structure. Cross-linking builds understanding. This is where learning deepens. You are no longer just trying to remember, actively thinking. At this stage, I usually move to a whiteboard or an infinite canvas on iPad or a computer. It lets you escape the confines of a page and follows your thinking wherever it goes. That shift reminds me of something that happened while I was writing my dissertation. For months, I had been reading, researching, organizing, and collecting notes for my second chapter, the literature review. The deeper I went, the more overwhelmed I became. I had so much information that I could no longer see the structure. Every article felt important. Every idea seemed connected to 5 others. It was so easy to go down different rabbit holes. And when it came to write, I felt stuck, overwhelmed. Then I built this. I took all of those scattered ideas and turned them into one visual map. Instead of hundreds of disconnected notes, I could suddenly see the major themes, how concepts related to each other, where evidence clustered and where gaps still existed. What had felt like chaos became organized. Writing got easier almost immediately. I stopped staring at a blank screen trying to figure out what came next. I already knew what came next. I had the structure in front of me. Instead of hunting for ideas, I was translating a map into sentences. Pages that had felt impossible started moving easily. Now, technically, this was closer to a concept map than a traditional mind map. Both are useful, but they serve slightly different purposes. A mind map usually starts with one central idea and branches outward, the hub and spoke model we looked at earlier. It's excellent for brainstorming, idea generation, and exploring possibilities. A concept map is more structured. It focuses on relationships between multiple ideas and makes those relationships visible. It typically has more words. It helps you see what supports what depends on what, and how the whole system fits together. That distinction matters for work like my dissertation. I didn't need more brainstorming. I needed to understand the architecture of the topic. I needed to see which ideas belonged together and which ideas were foundational, and which ideas could become sections of the chapter. That was the real breakthrough. Sometimes the bottleneck is not effort, it's not discipline, it's not intelligence. Sometimes the bottleneck is that your thinking has no visible structure to build upon. And once you can see the structure, the work will begin to move. And this leads us to our fifth and final stage, application. The fifth and final stage is application. This is where knowledge becomes action. If active processing strengthens memory, how would you design your next study session differently? How would you teach this to someone else? For me, as an educator, this often becomes slides or a written piece. But that form doesn't matter. What matters is that knowledge becomes part of your working schema. It becomes yours, your examples, your writing. Each layer deepens your thinking. Surface level notes become a living system of connected ideas. Here's something important. Don't let the learning experts gatekeep thinking. There is no right or wrong way to mind map. It's about externalizing your thinking, making the invisible visible. I've seen brilliant concept maps that look like organized chaos and simple ones that changed how someone understood an entire subject. Do I mind map everything? No. A well-organized outline is often enough. When it feels slippery or flat, mind mapping is where I go, because deep understanding isn't built in a straight line. I'm Dr. Eric Albinson, education PhD and professional learning coach. How do you use mind mapping? Drop it in the comments. I genuinely want to see your systems. If this was useful, subscribe for more evidence-based learning and performance content. I'll see you in the next one.